Hi everyone, I'm Christina Kirk from the Castaway Kitchen, and today we're going to be making my easy broiled salmon. It's a 5-ingredient recipe. It takes 20 minutes to marinate and 8 minutes to cook. You need to begin with a beautiful side of salmon. I always like to go with wild-caught salmon. This is a sockeye salmon. A good way to choose your salmon is to get a fillet that is nice and intact. It doesn't have the holes. Oftentimes when the fishmongers debone the fish, they can often get like a little thrashed, and that's going to create some ugliness when your fish cooks, while it doesn't affect the flavor much. So a nice even piece is also important, where the thickness is even. That way it'll cook evenly. This one already has the pin bones removed, and you can tell by running your finger on the side. No bones. I'm going to leave the skin on, and we're going to marinate this. It's going to be so good and so easy. So remember, start with one side of salmon. They usually run 1.5 pounds to a little bit under 2 pounds. And if you're in that range, it really doesn't matter for this recipe. It's so simple and so easy. Let's get started. You're going to need a container. I like casserole dishes for this. Sheet pans also work if you have two, but that is big enough that it fits your salmon whole. And we're going to put the marinade right in here. You're going to start with a 1/4 cup of coconut aminos. You may also use gluten-free tamari. However, it won't caramelize as much and it'll be a little bit saltier, so you're gonna wanna reduce the salt on the recipe. We're gonna do about a 1/4 cup, that's 3 tablespoons, 4. And then about a 1/4 cup of orange juice, which is about the juice of 1 large navel orange. You can get all the nice citrus chunks in there. I'm always a big fan of using as much of the produce as possible. Great. Just need to mix this up, swirl it, give it a good swirl so it's nice and even, nice on a flat layer. And now we're just gonna place our fish in here like that. Make sure the marinade is all over. And that's it. We're gonna let this hang out for 20 minutes. And when we come back, we're gonna add a little salt, a little olive oil, and we're gonna broil this. And it'll be ready in 8 minutes. Okay, so we have the oven preheated to broil at 500 degrees, 550, sorry. And I've cut up some chives here and some lemon wedges. So when our salmon's ready, we can garnish. Now we're gonna get ready to put this fish in the oven. I have a sheet pan here I prepared lined with parchment paper. You don't have to use parchment paper, however, the marinade's going to caramelize and it'll get charred on your sheet pan, and then you have to scrub and ruin your nails. So I'm gonna grab my salmon that's been marinating, place it on the sheet pan, and look at this. Beautiful. Now I'm going to grab the casserole dish where the sheet pan was marinating, pour it over the fish. We're gonna add a little olive oil. And about 2 teaspoons of salt, a little bit less, 1.5 teaspoons. I'm gonna eyeball it. Sprinkle from up top, you'll get a more even sprinkle. Boom. All right, this beauty is gonna broil right under those flames. I have a gas stove. Some gas stoves have the broiler on the bottom drawer. So I do the rack right into the broiler. Make sure your parchment paper isn't like sticking up too far out. Some parchment paper is really big. Make sure you cut it pretty taper, because if you have a gas stove, you will set your parchment paper on fire. We're gonna broil this for 8 minutes. That's all it needs, and it's gonna have a gorgeous color on it. Stay tuned. Look at the color on this beauty. So delicious. So now you can either plate the sheet pan on your table and serve it as is, or we can transfer the salmon to the ceramic casserole dish where it marinated, add a little arugula, add the chives, and garnish it there. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm gonna grab 2 spatulas and just kind of go, whoop, transfer it over. Ooh, a little piece flaked off. So good. On that note, if you're like nervous, you're like, how do I know my fish is gonna cook in only 8 minutes? That doesn't seem like enough time. Or if your fish is very thick and you're insecure about the cook time, if you can flake it, it's cooked. That's a very good way to check. If you can flake your fish, you can find the thickest point and use a fork to flake it. So now, to make a table-worthy arrangement, what we do is get your beautiful salmon, grab some fresh arugula, put it along the side here, grab your chives, and put your lemon wedges all along it. And I like to do 2 forks, kind of, you know, smoked salmon style, so people can flake off their salmon and serve it as they see fit. Some people like the skin, some people don't like the skin. They can break it off like that if they want to. And you can kind of start it for them like that. Clean the edges. And look at that. Gorgeous dish. Cooks so fast. It's a total stunner. Perfect for brunch, for dinner, anything, really. Absolutely gorgeous. You can get the full recipe on my website, thecastaway kitchen.com.